Every time a founder steps into a room filled with investors, the air gets thick with tension. Hearts race faster than logic should allow. The story, the vision, the relentless months or years of building, all boiling down to one moment of truth. And then it comes, that question. One single question that doesn't just poke a hole in the dream, but rips it wide open, shreds the hope, and crushes 90% of pitches before they even get a chance to breathe. This is not just any question. It's the question that separates those who build from those who break. The question that exposes the strongest foundations and the weakest facades. The question that, if silenced or answered wrong, puts you in the graveyard with thousands of other unmet dreams and stillborn startups. It's brutal, clear, and unforgiving. It's not about market size, not about crazy projections or shiny slides. Investors have heard that all before. They want to know one thing. How exactly are you going to make this real? Not someday, not in some perfect world. They want to know what stands between you and the finish line today, tomorrow, right now. Where's your edge? What makes you unbreakable? What's your secret that others don't see? Because something extraordinary, something investors crave, is not the idea itself, but the way you fight through every damn obstacle to make that idea live and breathe. The problem is that most founders freeze. They clutch their notes tighter, freeze in their spotlight, and deliver rehearsed answers, words churning like water but lacking fire. It's like offering a candle to a hurricane and expecting it to hold its ground. Investors don't want a candle. They want a flame that rages and burns through every doubt, every what if, every risk. They want founders who don't just believe their idea will change the world, but who have forged a weapon out of uncertainty, who have sewn a battlefield map into their brain, and who can stare down chaos and say, "This is mine." Here's the cruel truth. Sinking in the deadly question means you don't just lose funding, you lose belief. You lose the spark. You lose the rare chance to push beyond the broken systems telling you that comfort means safety, that norms mean success. Yet the real victory lies not in avoiding that question, but in owning it so fiercely, so viscerally, that it can't hurt you anymore. Because investors, whether they admit it or not, don't invest in ideas, they invest in the founder's ability to make those ideas unstoppable. The founder's story isn't just about growth charts. It's about raw, unfiltered survival, clarity, and relentless adaptation when promised freedom falls apart. So how do you, the founder standing there with the world watching, conquer this question? How can you make it your weapon and not your downfall? First, you have to burn away every scripted, safe answer you've ever memorized. Safe is what gets crushed, because the system rewards playing it small, compliant, and predictable. But what the future truly needs is the radical, the rare, the few who reject comfort and rewrite the rules. You need to live your answer, not just say it. Begin by laser focusing on what only you and your team can do differently. Forget buzzwords, forget jargon. What real problem are you solving? And why can't someone else with more money, more connections, or more experience replicate it? This undeniable, almost rebellious core of your venture is your foothold. Next, talk truthfulness, raw and rugged. Investors smell avoidance like a predator sniffs weakness. When they ask, "What's the hurdle you can't get past?" don't whitewash your answer. Instead say, "Here's the real mountain. Here's why it scares me. Here's how every day we wake up and choose to climb it anyway." Fearlessness isn't about never being afraid. It's about staring down that fear and still stepping forward. Be brutally honest. This kind of radical transparency stuns people into respect and buys you credibility that no polished pitch deck ever will. Then, address the people behind the process. Investors don't just bet on companies, they bet on founders who build teams insane enough to make the impossible real. Show them how your network is beyond just bullet points on a slide. How diverse, complementary, rebellious talents are linked, firing on all cylinders, refusing to settle for mediocre. Investors want to see a collective forging its future, one spark feeding the next. If your answer isn't about connection and culture as much as product and profit, you're missing the pulse. Next, preparation isn't about scripting, it's about scenario smashing. Before the pitch, tear every possible weakness down with ruthless curiosity. What's your cash flow turnaround if the top client says no? What if your main competitor suddenly floods the market? When they ask that killer question, answer not from rehearsed talks, but from muscle memory crafted through deep immersion in the chaos. Investors will sense when you're standing on wired knowledge rather than wishful thinking. The difference? The difference is survival, and survival is seductive. But above all, build your own definition of freedom and let it shine through your answer. The question that kills 90% of pitches is rooted in fear. Fear of risk, fear of the unknown, fear of loss. Most answers bleed that fear back to the investor, reinforcing that the founder is trapped inside systems, illusions, and false securities. But you are sovereign your own way. You step outside comfortable roles and show that your will is your weapon, that your fight, your reason to endure, is bigger than any checklist or rule set the world throws at you. You embody the rebellion, you amplify the essence, you forge your own reality and invite the investor not into a fragile dream, but into a revolution in the making. This powerful, unwavering spirit is what cannot be killed. Understand this, you are not here to fix a broken system. You're here to transcend it, to rise from the edges and shake the center. When that investor asks the question that kills, remember, it's just a threshold, a test of your alignment, patience, and capacity to play the long game. It's a chance to show that your venture isn't just a shiny product or a catchy market story, but a declaration of independence against comfort and conformity. And here's the secret, you're never alone. The system may isolate brilliance, but the rare don't have to be lonely. Your next ally, your next investor, your next breakthrough is waiting not in the noise of the crowd, but in the few who dare to resonate with your fire. Your answer can be the signal that unites the misaligned brilliance into a force unstoppable. The question that kills 90% of pitches, it's the gateway. If you refuse to be killed by it, you don't just survive, you transform every despair into raw power. Every founder watching this, feeling that silent tension inside that says, there's got to be more, there has to be a way beyond all this. Know this, that tension is your call to break from the rules that bind and set the rare chains on fire. That investor question, it's not your enemy. It's your invitation to show the world how deeply, how fiercely you can burn, unshackled, unfiltered, unbreakable. The system forgot you, so build your own path. The question that kills most, it's about time you answer it like you own it, like your life depends on it. Because in this fight, it does.